Today, I'm here with you not to talk about a reading series or to promote something upcoming. I'm here to discuss an article from a magazine, Scientific American, from September 2020, to which I subscribe. I'm not mentioning it to benefit the magazine in any way, but simply because this cover article in this issue is wonderful. Take a look. It says the following: Sapiens, the friendly human. It goes on to say that cooperation and the ability to form bonds allowed our species to become the sole hominid on the planet. I picked just a few excerpts from the article so you can get a sense of what it's about. It's extensive and has many very interesting points that I recommend reading. But it basically says the following: natural selection for hypersocial traits allowed the dominant species on Earth to surpass Neanderthals and other competitors. In other words, 300,000 years ago, which isn't that long ago, there were at least 4 other hominids competing with us on Earth. Competing with the sapiens. The most resilient of them, which lasted until much later times, is the Neanderthal. We generally think, well, they went extinct and we prevailed because we were more intelligent, because we had bigger brains, were better hunters, and had cultural traits. You know what I could tell you about all this information. They are false. Neanderthals are not what we imagined. In fact, they had more elongated heads, meaning probably a larger brain, which doesn't mean a darn thing. But they were capable of developing a more intelligent, skillful, and competent hunting ability than ours. They were stronger, had better physical condition, and an even superior hunting ability. They developed a range of cultural abilities that we will see in a bit. They buried their dead, were capable of painting their bodies, and so on. So it wasn't because we were stronger, nor more intelligent, nor because we had more developed cultural traits that we survived. Do you know why it was, my dear friend? It was because of our social skills. The ability to live together, to work together, to live in harmony and share knowledge with one another, with increasingly larger social groups, including passing this knowledge from generation to generation. What made us prevail as sapiens over the other hominids was we had the ability to work together, to cooperate, to transmit knowledge. We were united, and that gave us more capability than strength, the hunting skills, the cultural abilities of the Neanderthals. Isn't that incredible? Shall we pause to think about this for a moment? They continue to say the following: some of the other human species were more technologically advanced, as they had existed for much longer, 1 million years, or had brains as large or larger than ours. 1 million years, meaning much older than us, with brains larger than ours. Look closely, the Neanderthals were stronger. They were very skilled with weapons and hunted all the large mammals of the glacial era. And they even shared with us a variant of a gene known as FOXP2, which is believed to be indispensable for the refined movements necessary for speech, meaning they had the biological ability to develop speech in the future. Their culture demonstrated high levels of sophistication. The Neanderthals buried their dead, cared for the sick and injured, tinted themselves with pigments, and adorned themselves with jewelry made from shells, feathers, and bones, that is, sometimes in places very far from the coast. They were capable of transporting shells and making things with them, adornments. And they were very well adapted to the cold climate, much more so than the sapiens. In other words, anyone who, at that moment, bet on the Neanderthals to succeed would be making a pretty sensible wager. But they did not prevail. Who prevailed was the sapiens, who had none of these things. And what did he have? He has the ability to collaborate, to live in society, to produce together. and, more than that, to extend the scope of their social relationships, including the stranger as a friend, as a collaborator, as a partner. Later on, they will talk about this. Our species has little genetic variation compared to chimpanzees and bonobos. This indicates that we must have gone through severe population bottlenecks. That is, we must have extinguished several species, leaving a few specimens of one, because otherwise we would have much more variety. Which means that we could have almost been extinct, or truly extinct, like the Neanderthals were. If we weren't the strongest nose or the smartest, how did we manage? How did we win this race? This is where it touches on the issue that interests us the most. It turns out that, compared to other human species, we were the friendliest. See how curious this is. What allowed us to thrive was a kind of cognitive superpower. A particular kind of affability called cooperative communication. Pay attention to this. We are experts at working with other people, even strangers. In admitting strangers, in expanding our social circles. We can communicate with someone we don't know about a common goal and cooperate to achieve it. Cooperate with people who don't belong to our family group or long-standing friendships with the new, with those we've recently met. We are capable of reaching agreements and working together cooperatively. We developed this superpower even before learning to walk or talk. And it is the gateway to a sophisticated social and cultural world. It allows us to connect our minds to the minds of others. And so we inherit the knowledge of generations. In other words, knowledge is not only exchanged among us, but also inherited through generations. People who belong to this extended community can take this knowledge to other places, sharing it with other similar human groups. In other words, the ability to maintain and expand culture and technology is immense under these conditions. It is the foundation for all forms of culture and learning, including a sophisticated language. The ability to cooperate is the foundation for all forms of culture and learning. You can't just write this on the closet door. It's so interesting and philosophical. I hope you're already engaging your symbolic mindset. So, they keep saying many interesting things. At this point, I selected the following. The idea that friendliness led to our success is not new, nor is the notion that, as a species, we have become more intelligent. Our current discovery lies in the relationship between these two ancient findings. It was an increase in social tolerance that led to cognitive changes, especially those related to cooperative communication. Did you understand, my dear friends? It was an increase in social tolerance that developed our intelligence, our technology, our cultural capacity to be and to transmit a set of acquired values. It was tolerance. Think carefully about this. Continuing, there's a point I found interesting to highlight here. Despite the evolutionary paradoxes of human nature, the perception of who belongs to our group is flexible. As a species, Homo sapiens has already demonstrated its ability to expand the concept of group membership to the house of millions and can expand it even further. The best way to mitigate intergroup conflicts is to reduce the sense of threat through social interaction. In other words, tolerance and social interaction reduce the false sense of risk. And it enables us to extend our group vision to millions. Who knows, maybe to billions. Who knows, maybe to 7 billion and counting. Almost 8 billion. It's not impossible. Given the speed with which this capacity has expanded since the primary evolution of our hominid branch. In other words, this promotes, if we were to follow this initial impulse, the long-dreamed human family, fraternal, recognizing as family even the last member of humanity. If we didn't place any obstacles in this, such a promising progression that allowed us to survive, that allowed us to cross millennia and be here. Continuing, further on, they will say, establishing contact between people of different ideologies, cultures, or races is a universally effective reminder that we belong to a single group called Homo sapiens. I'll stop here. But what I would like to conclude with you is this: selfishness, sectarianism, hate speech is anti-evolutionary. It brings us closer to Neanderthals. Did you understand this idea? We may have all the cultural capacity we possess, the technology we possess, be excellent inventive hunters of new ways to survive, creatively and comfortably, that allow us to provide pleasure and comfort. If we are not together, we are walking against the path of evolution. We are going against the grain, and walking around always causes a stir. What made us who we are, believe it or not, is not privileged intelligence, nor refined technical ability, nor sophisticated cultural knowledge. It is our capacity for tolerance and cooperation, and the extension of our sense of family. The opposite of this is heading towards Neanderthal with large strides. Reflect, this is not my creation. This is a scientific discovery, well founded in an excellent bibliography, both original and very recent. Reflect, reflect. What is the direction? Sapiens versus increasingly developed, or versus Neanderthal, where are we headed? This might tell us who we are. Give it some thought. A hug to everyone.